Hey everyone, Ray Alfala here, racing the Cup car with the fixed setup for the NiS Las Vegas week. Here we are on the warm-up lap, going down the backstretch. We'll take a nice wide arc in turn 3, get a lot of momentum coming to the line. The setup will be pretty tight for most of the runs, just be ready to slow down the car quite a bit. Take the green right here. Work out, get as close to the wall as possible right there, and now here, I'll pause it right here. Use this line as your apron, if you will, because down here it's way too bumpy and your lap time will be slower overall. So pretty much just keep it right there on that line. You can straddle it, as you'll see. I'll go down under it a little bit, but that's kind of where you want to keep the car. You can also move up the track later in the run as the track starts rubbering up. But on a hot lap and most of the run, you'll want to be right around where I'll be running right there. As you can see, bring it down a little bit on the exit, up to the wall of turn 2. Now entering turn 3 right here, you can take a pretty direct line to the bottom, use a little bit of brake, get down to the white line, pretty aggressive on the throttle, and bring it right back up to the wall, and that's a hot lap around Las Vegas. Now here we come to start lap 10. We've already slowed down about 7 or 8 tenths of a second. The car is mostly on the tight side, so I'm having to be more and more careful with the inputs, especially slowing down enough on entry. Again, the line is pretty similar, easy on the throttle so the car doesn't push up to the wall. Now keep note, the setup by default has a 68 brake bias, and I set it down to 62 because the car is pretty tight on entry. So the 62 brake bias will help lock up the rears a little bit and help it turn. And that's lap 10. Now starting lap 20, we've slowed down another half a second or so. And as you can see, I'm not exactly backing up the entry compared to before because I'm going slower out of the corners. But I'm just keeping track of that right front tire because I know this track being so bumpy, if you overdrive it, it's just going to scoot up the racetrack. As you can see, I'm letting the car roll quite a bit, and when I get back on the throttle, I don't just light switch. I don't just get on at 100%. I go like 80 or 90 and then all the way. Here we start lap 30, and towards the end of this lap, I'll make a little mistake, and you'll see it when it gets there. But as you can see, entering the corner here again, letting the car roll quite a bit as the front end is still pretty tight. It keeps losing more and more grip. The car will start getting a little bit tail happy later in the run, and this lap is kind of where it starts turning. As you can see, entering turn 3, everything's pretty normal, and then off turn 4, I kind of just let it go up a little bit, and right there, I barely tapped the wall. I'm gonna go here, go to the chase cam here. As you can see, just barely, I kind of, the rear end is just kind of, going up the track and losing grip, and just barely tapped the wall right there. And that's the end of lap 30. Now as we come to start lap 40, the lap temps have kind of stabilized a little bit. Originally we started off with a 29.8 hot lap, and now we're running around at 32.1, 32.0, so we've slowed down just a little over 2 seconds. And now the rear end is finally starting to free up in comparison to the front end. So as you can see, I'm fighting the wheel more than I have been all run on exit. The entry is still pretty tight, although if you hit the brakes too hard, because it's at 62% brake bias, the rear end can step out a little bit. But overall, the car is pretty neutral at this point. That's lap 40. Now here we come to start lap 50, and I show you here the end of lap 49. As you can see, the rear end is starting to lose more and more grip as I'm having to fight the wheel a little bit on exit right there. We're running at 32.3 at this point, so that's 2.5 seconds of fall off at lap 50. Again, bring it down to speed here, all the way down to 152 miles an hour. Easy on the throttle. Be as aggressive as you can always, but just be aware that it can't step out on you. Entering turn 3 here, using more brake, so you have to be cognizant of the rear end, stepping out. And now coming off turn 4 here, it's going to get pretty loose. So I just correct it right there and make sure. I'm going to rewind here. Again, I've mentioned this in previous weeks, but if you find yourself at this point right there turning right, just know that once the corner ends and once the track flattens out, those front tires are going to land, and that car will make a turn back to the right. So as you can see, as soon as I feel that front end starting to bite, I just whip it back to the left as quickly as possible right there. And if I would have taken just a little bit longer, it would have gone right into the wall. But of course, you know, that's me knowing this car and knowing that I can do that with this car. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, just don't go wide open in that situation, and the rear end won't step out nearly as much. But that's 50 laps with the fixed setup at Vegas.